means to me feeling a sense of belonging. Feeling safe, feeling at home, wherever home might be. Community is really the input of everyone that lives within the community. People's differences, people's background, that's really what community means to me.
Community is not only the local community, it has to be connected to the global community. Because when we are able to include all members of the community, then we are able to understand that life is sacred. It is the importance of understanding that we are never separated. That's how we are able to create space for collective liberation. As soon as we decide who are the deserving, who are not the deserving, then we start to humanize people.
When I heard that I was sentenced to life without parole, I felt really just numb.
It is the sentence of the court that your custody be committed to the Department of Corrections for confinement in the state prisons without possibility of parole for the remainder of your life.
It's not uncommon for Southeast Asians or AAPIs to face detention and deportation.
I was sentenced to life. The system dehumanizes people, and with the intention that they become better people. That was very traumatic.
Mass incarceration is this mass removal, mass warehousing, mass relocation of people into carceral systems that include prison, jails, and ICE. It's unfathomable how much the United States is obsessed with incarcerating people. They build prisons even though crime is going down. They build prisons with the intent to fill them up. They build prisons with the intent to build an economic system that surrounds it. If we think about the incarceration system as an ecosystem that disproportionately impacts Black, Indigenous people of color, Asian Americans are captured up in that system. Asian American communities and Pacific Islander communities are impacted by incarceration because of their resettlement into some of the poorest cities in the United States.
I came to the United States from China in the early 80s. The 7 of us live in a 2-bedroom apartment in Oakland, and it was just, dilapidated, a lot of violence happening in the neighborhood.
Migration is not random, and in the case for Southeast Asian refugees, it was because of U.S. imperialism, which resettled a lot of refugees to the United States. Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are dealing with struggles that I think equate to the never-ending trauma that they themselves have endured or their parents have endured.
I am a child of a genocide survivor born in a refugee camp. The world didn't make sense to me. The world felt scary to me.
I didn't speak the language when I got here, and so immediately, not being able to communicate with people in my own language, I was traumatizing.
When there's so much compounding trauma, it doesn't allow us to be fully human. What we know is that unaddressed trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder leads people to desperate measures and desperate outcomes, which ultimately results in a huge number of Southeast Asians being incarcerated. Asian Prisoner Support Committee is an organization that looks to raise awareness and address the issue of mass incarceration and mass deportation among Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. The work is important because it's a continuation of Asian American freedom fighters, which is not usually highlighted in popular Asian American discourse.
The Asian Prisoner Support Committee was initially formed in 2002 and in support of the San Quentin Three after they faced retaliation for fighting for ethnic studies at San Quentin State Prison. The San Quentin Three included Eddie.
When we first entered the system, we were lost. We had no value to stand on. We have no roots that we are connecting to, right? So when I was incarcerated, I advocated for ethnic studies program inside San Quentin because we were denied the opportunity to learn about the Asian American and culture.
Hopefully, Asians will side with the most dispossessed, oppressed, and marginalized, remembering our own history. We Asians need to reshape our image.
We want our rights to be honored, even though we were prisoners. But the administration looked at us as troublemakers, demanding things we don't deserve, and they put us under investigation and solitary confinement.
When I first heard about the San Quentin Three and APSC, I was a young college student, and in a lot of ways, connecting with APSC and connecting with Eddie became my real education of learning about Asian American history, and not only the history, but how these issues manifest today. This is racial-based incarceration done on a scale that's never been seen in human history.
All right, PJ, we miss you, brother.
All right, PJ. All right, we'll see you soon. That sucks.
The Roots program was created over a decade after the San Quentin Three advocated for ethnic studies in the first place.
I think when we started Roots, which was based off of Eddie Zhang's petition for ethnic studies, our goal was to offer people who are physically incarcerated a way to experience mental spaciousness by learning about other people trapped by different systems of oppression who also got free.
Nobody really anticipated with this organizing for the San Quentin Three that eventually will turn into a movement to address some of the challenges of Asian American Pacific Islanders who are impacted by mass incarceration, deportation, and violence.
Generally across the board, there's a stigma about incarceration. And there's a stigma about incarceration in regards to who are the good prisoners that accidentally fall into the criminal legal system, who are the bad prisoners, the ones that actually commit crime. At APSC, we work with everyone across the board. Everyone is deserving of humanity, regardless of the crime they commit.
I have the lived experience to know what it's like not to have the luck you need to make it in this society. I was locked up as a child. How do you put a child in a cage? I'll never be the same. And I do this work to help that younger version of Mac. I see him in my nightmares. I see that kid just reaching out for help. I do this work because I might not be able to help the younger version of myself, but I can help the next person. I could stop the trauma. I could stop somebody else from going through the pain, the suffering. That's why I do this work.
Asian Prison Support Committee provides peer support because a lot of our team are formerly incarcerated. We help them navigate their phone. Like, so many people take for granted how easy it is to use a phone that had never been incarcerated. Not just a phone, but use technology. How to navigate the internet, how not to get scammed. Like myself, I got scammed multiple times.
I am not healed. I need re-entry service. I need to feel a sense of belonging. I need to know I have opportunities in the normal workforce. And re-entry is like a North Star.
The criminal justice system, as we know, targets poor, Black, Indigenous people of color. And as the criminal justice impacts poor, Black, Indigenous people of color, ICE detention system also disproportionately targets BIPOC communities. If you are born out of the country and you come here, regardless of your status, whether you come here as a refugee or undocumented, if you commit a crime, that automatically means you are eligible for deportation proceedings and you can find yourself deported. And this is true for a lot of the Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders we serve.
So I served my time for 19 years, and finally I was granted release. And then on the day that I was released, Immigration Customs Enforcement came to the prison and picked me up for mandatory detention and deportation.
Despite my legal status, because I was a refugee, I learned that I was going to be detained and face deportation upon being released from prison. Essentially, you really have no fighting chance of earning protection and freedom after serving time. These racialized laws are designed to really target people because of their legal status.
Happy New Year's, everyone! Come on, you can do better than that. Happy New Year's! Oakland is about community.
The good immigrant, bad immigrant narrative is problematic because it doesn't allow us to fight for the freedom of all people. If we fight for the good immigrant, it's easy to scapegoat the bad immigrants. If we fight for the bad immigrants and justify why they're deserving of humanity, which all people are deserving of humanity, everything else comes easier.
We know that from almost 20 years of our organization organizing within the prison system and trying to address mass incarceration issues in our community, we know that more policing, more law enforcement, more mass incarceration does not solve any of the roots of the real issues. So we're here today to promote unity amongst other communities of color. We do not want the Asian community's issues to be used as a wedge to further criminalize other communities of color. We know from experience this also impacts many of our community members as well.
People don't do this work only when they're motivated or empowered. They do this work because it's necessary, and I think that's what Asian Prisoner Support Committee is all about, is how do we continue this work beyond the inspiration and beyond it being a hot topic at some points in history.